Welcome to Deep Dive Daily.
What up? Good morning, Andy. We have some country club sports to comment on. ATP and WTA Rome are well underway, and we got some takeaways from those tournaments for the French Open. Look ahead, PGA Championship. They're about to make the important players are about to make the turn here on the front nine. Absolutely ridiculous how many golfers are in this field. A lot that I've never heard of. And not a lot of takeaways so far, but I'm cheering.
You've never heard of some of these guys, Drew?
No.
They are working pros.
There are guys in the top 50 in terms of the data golf win probability that I had never heard of.
Oh, yeah. No, I doubt it's those guys then. Who haven't you heard of? Jason Day?
No, I've heard of Jason Day. Let me see here. Let me pull up the win. Let me sort by win probability here, and I'll tell you that again his names. Right now, top 50 win probability, a guy like Justin Lauer is -2 through 3. Who is Justin Lauer, Andy?
He's He's an Englishman.
He's U.S. flag next to him on data golf.
Oh, God. So. Who am I mixing him up with?
I can't imagine.
Now I feel bad. He's kind of like a tweener guy. Fun fact, we share a birthday, but
cool.
He's mid-30s guy who's I don't think he has any wins. But he bounces back and he plays a lot of tour events.
How about this one? The upset of the tournament, a guy named Michael Thorbjornsson, American. No Danish flag next to him. Otherwise, the Danes are well represented here. Rasmus Nørgaard Peterson was a top 50 guy that I had not heard of. There's a couple more. Let me find them. Yeah. Anyway, what any takeaways for you so far?
Yeah, Thorbjornsson, he's a younger guy. He's only been on tour for a couple of years. He's good though.
Okay.
Not much taken away. It looks like it's playing easy enough. Someone's going to be 5, 6, 7 under here, leading, heading into the clubhouse after day one. So I think we probably do end up with our winning score in the teens.
Okay.
It's not like an exciting golf course, but I think the best you can hope for. Well, the best you can hope for is the longest shot you bet to win the tournament by 8 strokes. Like, I need Minwoo Lee to be shooting a 61 tomorrow. That would be great. That's the best you can do. But second to that would be some combination of Rory, Scotty, JT, Bryson, Rahm, some big names dueling on Sunday. Yeah, I saw that a group of very good players just had a little bit of a struggle bus there on 16's playing tough. That is your closing stretch of the cool named stretches. The Green Mile is up there. Because a lot of these other ones, like Amen Quarter, is just in the middle of the round. The Devil's Elbow, the Snake Pit, the Bear Trap. A lot of them happen, right after the turn. Where you have this stretch where you whip around on your way back to the clubhouse. Green Mile is 16, 17, 18. Like, closing stretch like that is very fun, and it's very tough. So there's going to be some guys that make some mess of some holes here, and the guys who don't are going to end up, winning this tournament. You basically have to course manage the tough parts.
What else happened on 16? Who else?
They just Xander's. God, who was the other guy in Xander's group? I'm spacing it. I've been watching on and off because it's early yet.
I can tell you who I'm cheering for. I get a little skin in the Calcutta, but it's a tiny little bit of skin. I'm cheering for John Rahm. Oh, Rory had a little. Rory and Scotty had a little trouble. Good. I have a little John Rahm. I got a little Sam Burns, Harris English, Corey Connors, Matt McNeely. They're all in red numbers. That's good.
Who said? Oh yeah, Scotty is in that group. I was thinking Xander, Rory, and
Scotty and Rory ejecting would be lovely. Xander, same story. Like, get out of the way of John Rahm, please.
A little early to eject.
Well, whatever. Can you tell me about a guy that I ended up with that I've never heard of who was, I think, the number 30 top 40 in the data golf pre-match odds?
Ooh.
Bridgman? Jacob Bridgman? What can you tell me about Jacob Bridgman?
Jacob Bridgman. He's a guy I've bet a few times. I looked at him at this one. It's tough to, justify betting on him to win a tournament like this.
Okay.
Yeah, he's, I don't know, like 25 maybe. Okay. I don't think he has any wins either. He's just kind of one of the newer names. He's played a bunch.
Okay.
Qualified. I don't even know how he qualified for this.
The other guys that haven't teed off that would do well for me if they shine are Colin Morikawa, Aaron Rai, Sunjae Im, and then a whole slew of names of guys I barely know. But we'll see.
I was going to say, but I thought Bridgman played well. Bridgman was top 5 last week at the Truist.
Okay, cool. All right, let's do a little Rome touch the bases, and we start with some of the takeaways from yesterday. We have Jasmine Paolini sneak out a first set win against Peyton Stearns. Looked like Stearns was going to maybe put Paolini in the hurt locker today, but not so fast, my friend. Paolini and her Italian support is shining. Yesterday, Andreeva could not solve Coco Gauff. That is now a 4th straight loss for Andreeva against Coco. That is turning into a problem and realistically puts Andreeva down a peg in terms of her potential to win the French Open, which stinks because I know a lot of our deep dive Discord friends have some Andreeva Indian Wells parlayed into her winning a slam this year. That would be a pretty solid payday for them. So maybe not going to happen in Roland Garros. Sabalenka was awful yesterday against Zheng Xinwen. Zheng is a great player. Obviously, she won the gold medal last year on clay. So we know she can play on the surface. Back when Iga was peak Iga, Zheng took her to a tiebreak in the first set and was the only player on tour who looked like they could go toe-to-toe with her. So the fact that she's emerging into an elite clay player is quite cool, and she probably wins Rome, which is exciting. I know Goff's rating is higher than Zheng's right now, but Zheng is playing pretty solid tennis, I have to say. And for some reason, I can't come around to Coco Gauff. I know her numbers have been better lately, but it's really just tough for me to see her game, outside of her athleticism, being good enough to really threaten at Roland Garros. But it would be a great story for an American to win. So I'm not going to cheer against it. I'm just not going to have any money on it. No thoughts for me in the final match of the, or I guess we're going right from this Paolini Stearns match to Zheng Gauff in the afternoon. What's the odds there? Let me see if Zheng's a bet, actually. Zheng's 2.4. So yes, Zheng is a bet. I give her about a 50% chance to win here. So Zheng for me in the late start at Roland Garros. On the men's side, so far it's been pretty chalky. Nothing much to say other than Zverev's struggles.
I believe Zverev was favored.
Well, his struggles continue, which isn't a surprise. Musetti gets him
straight set at his ass.
Zverev lost from ahead, which is again kind of classic. Alcaraz likely just dispatches Musetti, and then Jannik Sinner I think takes care of Ruud and Tommy Paul. And we're probably, if you were hoping for an all-Italian final on the men's side, don't hold your breath. Alcaraz versus Sinner is the matchup that is promised and will likely deliver. I've been impressed with Sinner so far. I know it's been a little uneven for him, but considering this is his first tournament back after a very long layoff, he looks good to me. So we shall see.
Yeah,
any other takeaways for you?
Zverev was not only leading, but then got to serve first in the second set and still bottled it all.
Yeah. I wish I could say I'm surprised, but I am not. Zheng Xinwen to win the French is probably a decent price. I mean, again, she won the gold medal at that venue. She can do it. And she does not have the miles of a lot of the other women's players so far this year. Like a lot of the other women's players have played a lot more tennis than Zheng has. So do not rule it out. Queen at Roland Garros, it's possible. She definitely belongs in the top 5 choices, in my opinion. And I mean, you have to have we have to have a really hard discussion at some point whether Iga belongs in the top 5 choices, which is fucking crazy to say it out loud, but it is true. So with that,
I just want a fun draw. I want a fun draw that puts, Penko in her quarter.
Penko in her, yeah, exactly.
And then it's like, well, yeah, to miss the semis, good to minus 1,000.
Stage of elimination when she plays Ostapenko. All right, let's talk a little NFL schedule release. We know all of the matchups for the season, and I'm going to open the floor to you first for some of your takeaways of now knowing the sequence of games for 2025.
I don't know. Like, all the takeaways suck. Everyone's like, oh, look at this. This is a really tough stretch. Yeah, it's because it's a really shitty team. Like, oh, the Giants have such a stretch. Yeah, their win total's 5.5. Any combination of teams is a tough stretch for a team like that. Like, when you're the worst team in your division, it stands to reason that there's 2 good teams in your division that aren't you. So there's 4 games, and then you're going to play some tough teams too. So all these teams was like, oh, this is a tough stretch, and maybe we should, look at this team and, adjust here. It's like, are you really betting win totals off schedules? I don't know about that. I did look at win totals. I have a bunch of unders I like.
Yeah.
I mean, Miami's under was juicy, but
their schedule's pretty soft.
I know, but I think that's gonna make me wait, and I think people can talk themselves into Miami because their schedule's soft, but so is their fucking roster.
True. Couple of thoughts for you. And we knew this because of opponents, but seeing it sequenced, it's even more apparent. The NFC East and the NFC North, there is no coming up for air.
Mm-mm.
None. Those every single game other than the Giants, when you play the Giants, on both of those full slate of schedules for that entire division are insanely tough.
You got to hope the Bears are Fugazi, because otherwise you better
yeah.
Like, if they take a big step forward based on what they fixed in the roster, that's a tough 6-game stretch.
Yeah. Overall, I thought they did a really nice job of kind of giving us juicy potential matchups in a lot of the high profile games, particularly late in the season. The only complaint I had is week 1 is just absolutely slammed with divisional matchups for some reason. I think there's like 8, and the quality of football early in the season is pretty terrible. So the fact that we're getting all of these really kind of important matchups may change the way some of the teams treat the preseason. And, you could have like a good example is like Green Bay, Detroit play week 1. Like, what the fuck? Those teams treating the preseason more sincerely so that they're ready for that game is kind of on my radar. Buffalo, Baltimore is maybe the most important week 1 contest in terms of sort of shaking out number 1 seed in the AFC, because Buffalo's schedule is fucking easy, and Baltimore will be my number 1 power rated team. Spoiler alert. I love their offseason. And so ultimately whoever wins that week 1 tilt on Sunday Night Football is very clearly at least in the driver's seat to get the 1 seed, and by default that's your favorite for MVP for the first half of the year.
I think that comes down to when the Baltimore Ravens lose their 3 stupid games, and if they're AFC teams or not. Because the Ravens will always lose like 2 or 3 games they have no business losing in the first half of the season. And, for tiebreaker purposes, you got to hope it's some NFC teams. It's like that Raiders loss was such a stupid loss last year.
Yeah. Well, their first 6...
They're going to have a couple like that.
I will say the Ravens tend to let their guard down against garbage teams. In their first 6 games, the only garbage team they play is Cleveland. Otherwise, it's Buffalo, Detroit, KC, Houston, Rams. Like they drew a first 6 weeks of the season that is unbelievably tough. But the thing about the Ravens is they treat the preseason like the preseason, and they treat the first 4 weeks like the regular season, unlike a lot of other teams. So the chances of them getting wins against these other elite teams, I think, is pretty good. And
kind of situationally lends itself to Lamar. If they run and they run strong, Lamar is your MVP favorite.
MVP at that.
And we're sitting in week 7. It's like, are we going to do a repeat? And you look at, I think that's a good spot to be looking at prices on, some other guys. Like, hey, he's got some MVPs. Who
Oh,
else can we talk?
Yeah.
Who else can we look at
He
here?
should have 3. He only has 2.
Yeah.
I guess actually he should have 2, but he got the ones in the wrong year the last 2 years. They were backwards. Oops. Now the Chiefs opening 4 games also unbelievable. Really, the Chiefs opening 6 also incredibly tough. You got Chargers, Philly, Chargers in Brazil, Philly. You get to exhale Sunday Night Football against the Giants, then Baltimore, Jags, Detroit. So, 3 of your toughest games of your entire season, all in your first 6 weeks. That's pretty amazing. So, I got to say that if there are 3 teams who can win the AFC, and those teams are Buffalo, Baltimore, KC, like you kind of have to play Buffalo to win the AFC. I think now, because they get Baltimore at home. If they win that game week 1. That's your last undefeated team.
I mean, yeah, they've always done so well in the playoffs and high stakes games. I'm trying to think of like a reason to get excited. Well, I mean, if you have a good number, then I suppose you could play against it later on. But
they're not a team that really lets down often against the Dregs. And after that Baltimore game, they get Jets, Dolphins,
they have a really good
Saints,
shot at a 1 seed.
Pats,
I think you're right.
Falcons. Like going into their bye, they should be 6-0 if they win that Baltimore game.
Yeah, I'm not keen on the Jets turning anything around. I'm not keen on I've already mentioned the Dolphins roster. And the Patriots obviously still have a long way to go. So they're sitting in this spot like the Patriots used to be like, hey, we got another year where all 3 teams are down. Worst case for the Patriots, like, oh, the Jets are good this year. Or like, the Dolphins are playing well. And they would never have like 2 or 3 teams that were all pretty decent. And Buffalo's kind of getting into that same groove here where you should and have to win your division. And honestly, they have a decent shot at like 5 or 6 wins in division. Like, I'm with you there. 1 seed seems pretty likely.
Okay.
Especially the way Kansas City has started to kind of treat the regular season at times.
Yeah, I mean, they won ugly for most of the first 3 quarters of the season last year. They were your last undefeated team by a long shot, but there were some ugly wins in there. Let's see. On the NFC side, as mentioned, the East and the North are hellscapes as far as schedules go. If your 1 seed comes out of those 2 divisions, I guess I'll pay to see it. I think you are pretty clearly angling for whoever Sun runs in the South or West is your likely 1 seed. The Niners schedule is, as expected, extremely easy. But I got a little nugget for you, and I want your take on this because I don't know what your feeling is about the Niners. I only know a couple of your opinions, really, for this upcoming season. Maybe because you haven't really shaped your opinion until you really go through the exercise of rating the teams.
There,
but one of the funny takeaways from draft cycle was hearing from the other NBC folks about how, what their, information gathering process is. And one of the people that is the most important to hear from is Chris Sims about the 49ers, because of course, Chris Sims and Kyle Shanahan have tattooed their names on each other to the point where it's a little bit of a, okay. But he knows he's getting a good, honest assessment of what's going on in San Francisco. And it's always been kind of instructive, including the, Shanahan's choking right before playing the Chiefs in the Super Bowl kind of information. So, the scoop there was Shanahan was basically treating the draft process and the free agency process like this is going to be a lost year for them. Like the talent's just not there on this team and that they're going to have to reset. They're going to have to coach up a huge amount of their roster to be competitive. And that was kind of shocking considering they've kind of gone into every single year as you're expected, NFC goes through San Francisco potentially. But there's internal concern about the state of the roster in San Francisco, by a lot of accounts. And as you kind of look at their depth chart, I think you can understand why. You got a lot of specifically important players who are getting pretty old, and the backfill there is pretty inexperienced and maybe not good. So, you have a take on that?
Yeah, I mean I kind of liked him just because I trust the coaching and I love what they got back for a defensive coordinator, but I mean that information doesn't make me feel any better about that. Their win total is like 10.5.
That's huge.
I think
number,
if you
yeah.
play them high upside. Well, and I don't think you play that to the over if you like them. If you like them and you think, Salah's going to get this defense whipped into shape, that's going to be a big turnaround, and the offense is probably fine, and they stay healthy, I think you do play them to win the NFC, and maybe you do it partway through the season if they're looking a little shaky. It's just too well coached a team to be out on completely. So I mean, if you're down on them, you play under 10.5. If you're high on them, I think you shoot for the moon there. You play to win the NFC, maybe find some live spots to enter on them to win the NFC West.
Yeah, I think as
I haven't completely done everything.
As I look at their sequence of games, if you kind of look at their divisional games as true coin flips, all of a sudden the first half of their schedule does look pretty tough. You have Arizona coin flip, Seattle coin flip, Jags. I don't know if I'm making a case sincerely that the Jags are a tough matchup for them, but maybe. Rams, obviously, Tampa, Atlanta, Houston. Like that 4-game stretch there of Rams, Tampa, Atlanta, Houston, like that coming in the first half of their schedule certainly makes it seem like you could be a little bit underwhelming in terms of record at the halfway mark of the season. So I think my guess is that once people digest the schedule and kind of now see it with their eyes, how the Niners got such an easy schedule and people are going to kind of anchor to the rating of the last couple of years. My guess is that number is going to get bet, and it's probably one to stay away from. That's kind of my general sense. What do you? Yeah, and do with that information whatever you will. But NFC West looks pretty flat to me with the Rams being the best team, but not by enough to say that they're going to run away with the West. NFC South looks pretty flat across the top, but Tampa Bay is obviously the best. Big question, though, swirling about how they replace Cohen. And the third offensive coordinator now 3 years from Baker. What do you think? What do you think about if you had to take one flyer in Southwest to be your 1 seed in the NFC, considering that the East and the North are so damn difficult? You got a flyer you want?
I mean, for price, I don't think the Rams' price would be that good. So I don't strongly believe in the coaching staff up in Seattle right now. You could see another. Yeah, you could. I was not impressed with anything they did last year, nor
fired their OC.
Yeah, maybe that was an impressive move to say this isn't working. We don't need to drag this on for a second year. I mean, teams struggle to make decisions like that. It feels like, man, it probably like Tampa. Got to look at their schedule, but if it turns out it's just been Baker this whole time, and they went out and got another wide receiver, if that defense stays healthier, they really did a lot with little on defense. They had a ton of injuries. Vea missed time. Every single person who's ever sat in a meeting for defensive back missed time. They have some good players on defense. They just need to stay healthy. That defense can play a lot better. And I think Baker, it's tough, but you guys had 7 OCs now across his career. He'll be fine.
Okay.
Just because so much of their success 2 years ago was him making it happen on third down. And then so much of their success last year was him making it happen with backup wide receivers. He gets a lot of credit, I think, but he maybe doesn't get enough credit for what he's had to put up with over the course of his career. And he's had some pretty good numbers the last couple of years. I think Tampa's probably only held back by their head coach too.
Okay. Other kind of major takeaway of the schedule. I don't disagree with any of that. I kind of was surprised that they didn't get a little bit more positive buzz after people saw what their schedule looks like. It's kind of a nice spacing of the difficult games with some games that they should be able to find wins. That kind of looks like a 12-win-ish type of schedule to me. The other major takeaway is a lot of the Sunday Night Football. Gird your loins for young quarterbacks. week in and week out, it feels like it's a matchup of second and third year guys. It is a lot of inexperience there. Not sure ultimately.
That should be fine
takeaway
under the
with
bright
that.
lights.
I know, right? Like week 2, we get Penix versus JJ McCarthy. JJ McCarthy's first start is at Chicago. His second start is in prime time against the Falcons. Like, I mean, it's a nice defense to get, but I mean, right into the fire for him. I was a little bit surprised that they didn't try to
He played
feature
a title game, baby. He's not worried.
Yeah, but like, I guess here's the thing: like, all of these primetime games with all of these young quarterbacks is going to be interesting, and it's going to make things a little bit unexpected, I think. Meanwhile, there's only one Sunday night football game for Lamar, huh? We have one Sunday night, one Monday night football game, one Thursday night, and then Thanksgiving night. So we're only seeing Lamar in kind of a premier spot 4 times. That was a little surprising. We're only seeing Josh Allen in a premier spot 5 times. That was surprising. And 2 of those are Thursday night football. How in the world does Thursday night football get Josh Allen twice? And one of them is against Houston. Like, that was kind of a little bit of a head scratcher. We only see Joe Burrow.
Yeah, Thursday night is prime time, but it lowers the quality. Thursday has always done that.
Yeah, we only get Joe Burrow in prime time 4 times. One of them again is Thanksgiving night. Like, honestly, bearing Cincinnati, Baltimore on Thanksgiving night, hate it. And it's not just because I myself am tired and have a difficult time really engaging with that game, but that's usually one of the best games of the entire season. Those 2 teams going toe-to-toe in primetime is usually so damn good. And to put it in a time window where a lot of people are going to be turkey napping, it was pretty dumb, I think. Any other thoughts?
I know, but at the same time, we complain when that third game sucks because it sucks every year. Like, oh, good, Texans and somebody. Oh, good, Miami and somebody.
Yeah, no, like, yeah,
that
they put like
game
Niners
has always been like a
Rams
weird matchup.
Yeah, it was last year was Green Bay, Miami. That was fine.
I don't know. My biggest takeaway, I guess, from this whole thing is that the people trying to make cases for this is the toughest schedule and this is the toughest schedule, those are always off by orders of magnitude by the end of the year.
Sure.
And sometimes it's just a butterfly effect. 3 or 4 teams are going to be way better than we thought. 3 or 4 teams are going to be way worse than we thought, and then everybody else is going to be off by about an average of 2 to 3 games of their win total. So a lot of it is just forecasting horse shit and just having something to talk about, I think. But the strength of schedule stuff is very hard to predict, and I don't know that it's actually good to use outside of, just looking at it from a where can I enter, maybe some entry points on betting on certain teams. And then if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, because a lot of times it doesn't happen.
Yeah, that seems reasonable. Okay.
All right. We'll get plenty more NFL talk. It's May.
Okay.
I need a little more time to digest all this.
I can say with clear eyes, after seeing the schedule, I didn't make a single bet in the NFL.
No, like I said, I looked at a couple totals under, but I haven't placed any bets. I'm going to look into them a little. I probably will not. I don't love just hanging bets in May that cash in January.
Yeah, it's like awards bets in particular.
Well, it's one thing if it's a long shot and there's a potential for a big payout, but when you're laying minus 120 on a win total for 8 months, it's no fun.
Mm-hmm. Good work. Anyway,
tomorrow, cooking and wine, Food Friday. I'm going to cook a special South Carolina dish, North Carolina, one of the Carolinas.
There was a question about horse racing. Let's talk a little optics plot.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, I'll kind of go through how to read one and what it's telling you, and then I'll share them in the Discord for the folks who care about horse racing. I'll just put the optic spots for Pimlico in there so you can get a taste of it yourself and see if it's right for you as far as a handicapping tool goes, because otherwise it's just you're firing blind. I honestly was like, I pulled up the past performances for Preakness, and in particular the Black Eyed Susan on Friday. And I looked at it and I was like, I'm seeing nothing. I need the optics. And then I got it and I was like, oh yeah, damn. What I thought looking at the past performances was like, I was going to put just dead money in the pool on 2 horses that are complete tosses. So we'll go through that tomorrow for the black eyed season. And then I'll share those plots with folks for the weekend.
Yeah, food, wine, and horses tomorrow. We'll see you guys. Happy Thursday afternoon.
Oh, wait a minute. I have one more comment.
What? Go ahead.
I have a big old stake on the under tonight in the Thunder under.
Oh, Denver?
Denver Thunder under. Big old Betsy.
Drew, Thunder down under.
Hopefully the Thunder win, and there are 200 points scored in that game.
Fair enough. Good job with the
I'm
Wolves.
not asking for much.
Congrats to the Timberwolves.
Congrats to the Timberwolves. We will price that series hopefully tomorrow.
We'll see.
Enjoy the golf.
Favorites. Friday night, Boston, New York. Banger.
That is going to be a banger. Kind of want a game 7.
I kind of do too. Just to see the Knicks fans.